I'm sure the miHoYo shills are tired of hearing this, but the 2.x patch series in Wuthering Waves has really put a spotlight on the things Genshin has failed to implement, especially concerning quality of life updates. Now, to the nitpickers out there, I doubt you'll believe me when I say I have a lot of nitpicks about KuroGames as well. I'm definitely not a Kuro bot, such as why their Echo preset system is a global thing instead of character dependent, which is something their other game, Punishing Grey Raven, has. I also think they could make the Echo animations not identical and all the same, as that kind of looks creepy when I go to do Echo farming and I aggro them and they all have the exact same creepy turn towards me. Anyways, the main reason why I've dropped my personal score of Genshin down to a 6 has to primarily do with Natlan and its Archon, the one supposed to represent Natlan, the nation of war, and be the Pyro Archon. Instead, what we actually got was the Night Soul Archon. However, she has worse pyro application than Xiangling, a free 4-star. Mavuika's skill only lasts 12 seconds, and it applies pyro only 6 times, once every 2 seconds. Her first constellation slightly improves this to 18 seconds total with only 9 applications. And her supposed exploration power creep I saw a lot of people glaze only really works in Natlan, and only as long as you're not climbing walls. She gets a second, or a third, I should say, meter for climbing a wall, and it only lasts 1 second. She gets another third meter whenever she's flying, and it only lasts 3 seconds. Like, why does she have a separate meter for this when literally you can rock climb with a roller skating girl? She goes to use her Night Soul points and then switches over to Phlogiston when her Night Soul is over. Why can't Mavuika do this? Why does she have a third stamina meter? I don't understand. Another thing that bothers me a lot with 5.x specifically is that some of the Archon quests that we've had recently and event quests, I know this is a SAG-AFTRA thing, but this really cuts down on the enjoyment factor. To add insult to injury and just douse the wound with salt, miHoYo was and still is offering limited time primogems for playing certain storylines. It was formerly the Archon quest, currently it's the Mizuki Companion quest. It's like they really want you to play these stories, even though your enjoyment factor is going to be reduced. Although as an American, I found the British voice actor of Wuthering jarring at first, at least his voice in a language I can listen to without having to read what the characters are saying for the main storyline quest. And as a shout out to all of you so-called purists out there, not everyone likes listening to the Chinese or the Japanese dialogue being spoken by the characters. They want to actually sit there and basically play an anime game. Another thing is about Traveler being practically useless versus Rover seeing a fair amount of use currently, at least. With the exception of Dendro, Traveler serves as a pretty useless 5-star to have. Almost no team are they useful in. And let's not even talk about Hydro MC going as far to be, in my own opinion, the first actual 3-star character we have in the game. As a disclaimer, I have not used Pyro MC as I haven't gone further in the story beyond 5.0's Archon quest. I don't know how useful they are yet. And honestly, it kind of sucks that Pyro MC is locked behind an Archon quest. This is in relation to Wuthering Waves, where although there are better options in the form of Camellia, Jinxie, and Phoebe, you do have Havoc and Spectro Rover that are viable alternatives, or in the case of Phoebe herself, Spectro Rover is a much needed support due to the recent inclusion of Spectro Frazzle. Although this will likely change in the future, at least with 2.1 currently, Kuro has buffed the Rover to be a good character. And just like Star Rail and unlike Genshin, with Wuthering Waves you get a 7-day login bonus with each update. The only thing I can knock on this for Wuthering Waves is that it's a mixture of 5 standard polls and 5 limited polls, instead of Honkai's all 10 limited. Contrast to Genshin, we get free Lantern Rite pulls after they release the Night Soul Archon alongside her best in slot support. Both 5 stars, same banner phase. Your rewards are after it ends. Until Gotcha's Lord and Savior Tectone sacrificed his wallet and his sanity for us in pulling Homa, the weapon banner in Genshin was pretty garbage. In my opinion, it still is. Even after fixing it, you could have to go through 2 50/50s before getting what you want, up to a possible 270 pulls if you always go to max pity and lose the 50/50. Post-process cat here. Apparently, the number of fate points needed is reduced to 1 instead of 2. I'm not aware of this, at least not at time of recording, because I haven't pulled on the weapon banner since Navia's weapon. Compare this to Wuthering's more generous banner, with a limited 5-star being a guarantee at a max of only 80 pulls. I would have loved to have had a skip button when doing the 8-hour Aranara World Quest, which was so long and spread out that miHoYo gave us a separate adventure log book just to keep track of that world quest. Of course, skipping the same daily I've done several times about taking a picture or interviewing someone would be great, as the quote important information the dialogue gives you is mapped out anyways. You don't have to sit there and read through it to know what to do. Although in Wuthering you can only fight up to 3 weekly bosses, you can actually fight the same one all 3 times. This means if you're building a character and want to max them out quickly, you can. While you can, theoretically at least, fight all the weekly bosses in Teyvat, unless there's a pressing need to, or you just want to try and get belays, which, in the first place, aren't guaranteed to drop, even though you farmed every single boss every week for 6 months and you still only get the dream solvents. You would basically only just fight the one you need in order to get the materials to drop, and then you have to wait a whole week again to fight that exact same boss to get the same materials you're trying to use for your character talent levels. Resins replenish at 1 per 8 minute, up to a max of 200. It takes 26 hours and 40 minutes to get cap. You can store up to 200 resins in 5 condensed resin at 40 each. However, these are only available to be used in domains and ley lines for double rewards, even though non-weekly bosses need 40 resins. They also cost more to craft, not a big deal if you're endgame. The wave plates in Wuthering, on the other hand, regenerate at 1 per 6 minutes, up to a max of 240. This takes 24 hours to get to. However, you have wave plate crystals, which are basically overflow, that have a max of 480, but regenerate at half the speed, when your normal wave plates are full. Plus, if you want double rewards, you just have to spend double the wave plates at the exchange screen. Unfortunately, this is also not available for bosses. Would be nice. So, I said all that to say this. I enjoy Genshin Impact. I enjoy Wuthering Waves. However, the more I play Wuthering Waves, the more quality of life there is with playing the game. It really makes you feel like they enjoy you playing the game. They want to give you a better gaming experience. Unlike Genshin Impact, where it's just the exact same thing over and over and over again, their so-called quality of life changes are actually a terrible addition to the game. I still enjoy the story. I still enjoy the combat mechanics. However, I can no longer keep saying this game is good at a 7 out of 10, and now I have to say, in comparison to Wuthering Waves and Star Rail, since I've played that too now, I have to drop it down to a mid 6 out of 10.